Is Islam the only true religion in the sight of God? Now, this exclusivist claim that Islam is the only true faith before God is very unpopular in many circles in the West. These exclusivist truth claims are looked down upon as backwards and wrong. And even some Muslims that I've heard of say that, that as long as you are a good person and you're sincere, then you will get to paradise on that basis. Doesn't matter if you're Muslim or not. And I wanted just to briefly look at this whole question of what God says about Islam, and is it really an exclusive true faith above all others or not? And there's this new book that's just been published, actually, called A Muslim's Guide to Modernity by Sergio Sharif, who is an Islamic scholar based in London. And it's a collection of essays he's written over the years. Absolutely fascinating work. You can just dip in and read individual chapters. And in chapter 19, there's an essay titled Islam, Perennialism and Salvific Exclusivity, which really addresses this whole point. And also, what about those who've never heard about Islam? What's their status? Are they automatically condemned because they're not Muslims, obviously? So he writes the following. In our postmodern age, with its suspicions of meta-narratives, and in which all truths are seen as relative, people are anxious of religious truth claims, especially if they are of the absolutist, exclusivist type. There are many intellectuals and others, not only in the West, that are disturbed by any exclusivist claims made for Islam, or for any other religion, for that matter. Be it from anxiety or perennialism. Perennialism is the belief that the world's major religions, even after the arrival of Islam, are still valid paths to God. Be it from perennialism or anxiety, this is not, though, what the Quran teaches. The Holy Quran is explicit when it says, quote, "He who seeks a religion other than Islam, it will not be accepted of him, and in the hereafter he shall be among the losers." That's Surah chapter 3, verse 85. Elsewhere, it proclaims the true religion in Allah's sight is Islam. Whatever other verses might be marshaled in this issue, these two lie at the heart of Islam's exclusivist, salvific claims. Turning to the words of the Holy Prophet, upon whom be peace, we find him saying, "By him in whose hand is the life of Muhammad, anyone from this nation, be he a Jew or Christian, who hears of me and dies without believing in what I was sent with, will be among the denizens of hell." That hadith is a Sahih hadith in Muslim. It's interesting that a while ago, I have a friend who is not a Muslim, but he's always been a very earnest seeker after the truth. And he told me once that he encountered a group of Sufis, and he found them fascinating. He's always been interested in Islam, my friend. And they assured him, they told him, he did not need to become a Muslim. He could just continue on his path as long as he was a good person. That's what really mattered. He did not have to submit to become a Muslim. And when he told me that, I was quite shocked, because I thought, wow, that's not what it's supposed to be like. But that's what they told him. Now, I'm not saying all Sufis are like that, but some obviously are. And the Quran is very clear on this matter. Coming back to the book, fleshing out the hadith's theological implications, Imam al-Nawawi is a very famous Islamic scholar of the past. He wrote, "It contains a proof that all religions have now been abrogated by the prophethood of our prophet, upon whom be peace. Also, in its explicit meaning, is a proof that those to whom the call of Islam does not reach are excused." End quote. If salvific exclusivity wasn't to be found in Islam, what was the point of our prophet, upon whom be peace, trying to convert Jews, Christians, or pagans to Islam if they were on the saved path already? It's an excellent question. In his letter to the Christian emperor of Byzantine, the prophet, upon whom be peace, said, "I invite you to the call of Islam, submit, I become Muslim and be saved. That hadith is in Al-Bukhari and was also one of those in Muslim as well. So what about those who have not heard about Islam, of course? Are we to assume that everyone who is unaware of Muslim, people living in remote parts of the world, in the Antarctic perhaps, are they automatically condemned to hellfire? Well, that's not the teaching of Islam, it seems. Our author says, what is the fate of those whom the message of Islam has not reached? Here the Quran offers a far more ecumenical hope. Never do we punish till we have sent a messenger. That's Quran 17:15. So the conveyance of the message is at the heart of the issue. This is the case, provided those to whom the message was not conveyed are truth seekers. That is, they are people who are searching for the truth and are prepared to commit to its claims if and when they reach it, and not have an attitude of indifference towards it. Who cares? So as long as they're earnestly seeking after the truth, but if they don't receive that messenger, then that is quite different from people who are just condemned. And then our author quotes Ibn Taymiyyah. Ibn Taymiyyah wrote, as for those who lived after the age of Jesus, and only some of his story reached them, or Moses, with only certain aspects of his account reaching them, then the proof is established upon them only insofar as what has reached them of their messages. If they differed in interpretations of the gospel or Torah, whosoever among them intended to seek the truth and sincerely pursued it is not subject to divine punishment, even if he erred in the truth, was ignorant of it, or misguided about it. End quote. Very interesting. Thus, what counts is the intention to seek the truth, even if one unwittingly misses the truth. Such is the vastness of God's plenitude and compassion. As for those who have heard about Islam, but in a garbled form, filled with half-truths or propaganda. So you imagine someone in the American Midwest, in a small town, someone who only watches Fox News, has been brought up on Fox News, so all he hears is a very garbled message about Islam and propaganda, because that's all he's hearing. Al-Ghazali said something very interesting. These people knew the name Muhammad, but nothing of his character or traits. Rather, all they heard since childhood is that a liar and impostor called Muhammad claimed to be a prophet. This group, in my view, writes Al-Ghazali, is like the first group, which is excused. Although they have heard of him, they heard the opposite of what his true qualities were. And this doesn't provide enough incentive for them to look into his true status. They're hardly going to show more of an interest in Islam when they only heard all they heard is just bad. There's little incentive there to go any further with the faith. That is to say, such people will also have an amnesty in the afterlife. Although anyone who has not declared the two shahadas during their lifetime is considered to be a non-Muslim, an unbeliever, a kafir, in terms of this worldly life. End quote. Of course, what he means there is the legal status of someone. It's not a declaration about their eternal destiny. It's just they are non-Muslims. They are Muslims and non-Muslims in Islamic law. So I think this is very refreshing. And of course, Islam in a Muslim society accords rights to people of the book, to the Jews and the Christians, who can worship and follow their faith freely, guaranteed by law, but guaranteed by the Sharia. So it's not that just because Islam is the true religion, it doesn't mean other religions have to be exterminated or oppressed, which unfortunately was often the case in Christian history. Most of Christian history, the Christian state has sought to execute, exterminate, persecute non-Muslim, non-Christians in their midst, or simply didn't allow them into a Christian society. And that's one of the reasons why secularism emerged in Europe, because once Christendom broke down and the Reformation came about, there was a breakdown in the unity of Christendom, and you started letting alternative voices in, and there was great battles and wars between Christians, like the 30 Years' War. Millions of Christians killed each other over the Christian faith, and Europe got tired of that. It got sick of it, actually, and sought to have a secular vision of society. We see this in the writings of people like John Locke, the father of liberalism, and other people. But of course, this is a peculiarly European Christian answer to a Christian problem. It's not needed in Islam. Islam is already pluralist legally, in that, as I say, it gives rights to Christians and Jews and others to live according to their faith within an Islamic polity by legal right. And that's something that the West has only recently caught up with and learned to live with. But anyway, I do recommend this book, A Muslim's Guide to Modernity. I'll put a link to it in the description below. As I say, it's an anthology, a collection of essays, quite short essays, based on articles on the website, which I'll link to as well. Well worth dipping into and having a look. So hope you enjoy that. Till next time.